Greetings, I'm Teresa, 40 years old. Recently, my father-in-law Gregory passed away, and it was heartbreaking. However, his death brought something unexpected. My ex-husband Jack, who had cheated on me. Let me take you back to when Jack and I first met on a dating app. As a college student, I was looking for some fun, tired of being stuck in my dorm. Jack, 2 years older and a working man, and I matched. After a few dates, we decided to go to a bar, ended up drinking a lot, and found ourselves at his place. Third month, I missed a period, and the fear of pregnancy set in. Multiple positive tests later, I told Jack, who surprisingly agreed to help raise the child. Over the next few months, Jack transformed into a caring and gentle man, making me fall in love with him. I proposed, and he said yes without hesitation. When I informed my family, who were always overprotective, they were not happy about the wedding or pregnancy. Despite their scrutiny during Jack's meeting with my family, they did not like him. My mother in particular expressed concerns, saying, "I'm only saying this because we love and care for you, but we don't think that boy's right for you." She hinted that their reservations might be influenced by disapproval of my pregnancy. Of course, we're not exactly excited that you're expecting a baby at the age of 17. Goodness gracious. Nevertheless, after talking it over, we agreed that it's your body and your choice. We won't meddle with your pregnancy, but we're worried that this guy might not be the best match for you. I'm grateful for your support during the pregnancy. It's important to mention that he's the baby's father and has been incredibly supportive. If you continue to object, there's a chance he might decide not to stay. Please consider this, as we won't be around to assist you when challenges arise. I appreciate your trust in me. Holding Jack's hand, I left the house, feeling the pain of my parents' lack of trust. Although I considered uninviting them from the wedding, Jack persuaded me to let them attend. Looking back, I realize I should have heeded my mom's advice on choosing the right partner. Perhaps I was scared of being a single parent. The wedding went smoothly, thanks to Jack's parents who were supportive and made everything easier for me. When the time came to have my baby, it was a joyful moment as I welcomed a lovely baby boy. Jack took charge of childcare while I completed my college studies. He proved to be a fantastic dad, offering support throughout, and even after I graduated, he assisted me in securing a job. I didn't make as much money as him, but back then, having something was better than nothing. Our son Jack was turning into the cutest little kid. When we saw him take his first steps and heard his first words, Jack and I were so happy. Even with our difficulties, we always talked and cooperated as parents. I felt thankful to share my life with him. 10 years flew by and we stayed a wonderful family. However, one evening after work, I arrived home to discover Jack in bed with another woman. My heart broke into pieces and I couldn't stand to see him. I moved out and stayed at a friend's place, making arrangements for our son to stay elsewhere. The following day, I initiated the divorce process, aiming for custody of our child and financial support. When I handed the divorce papers to Jack, he expressed dissatisfaction, urging for a smoother divorce process. Regardless of the cause of his unfaithfulness, I simply wanted him out of my life. Jack refused to provide child support, saying he never desired our son and wouldn't contribute financially. Despite my hurt, I remained steadfast, insisting that the court would make the decision. It was painful to understand that Jack never had love for me. Going through a decade feeling obligated was a profound source of pain. If only he had been truthful 2 years ago, I could have had my family's backing. Nevertheless, despite the anguish, I recognized the need to progress and move forward. I had to keep going to court hearings, and they were pretty tough. Jack kept saying that I had tricked him into marriage, but I had solid proof to counter his claims. The court ordered him to start paying child support from the coming 2 months. Despite the hurt from the divorce, I felt grateful that my son would now receive financial support. A week passed since the divorce, and when the new month began, it was time for Jack to provide child support. Unfortunately, I couldn't get in touch with him. Despite making several attempts to contact him, his phone was not working, and he had blocked me on social media. Even when I tried creating a new account, it was also blocked. Feeling desperate, I called his workplace, only to find out that he had resigned 2 weeks prior to relocate overseas. Feeling anxious, I reached out to my lawyer for advice on handling my spouse who had left the country. The lawyer recommended strengthening child support if we could pinpoint Jack's location. Sadly, I had no clue about Jack's whereabouts. The lawyer brought up the idea of seeking help from the government, but it seemed like a lengthy, expensive, and unpredictable process. Not knowing where Jack was, I had to handle the task of bringing up my son with little money. My emergency savings wouldn't hold out for long. I remembered my parents advising me against being with Jack, so turning to them for help was not possible. Asking friends had its constraints, leaving Jack's parents as my only possible help. I used to have a close bond with Jack's parents. Surprisingly, when Jack and I told them about our divorce, they appeared more concerned about my well-being than their own sons. They were quite well off, and I saw them as a dependable pillar of support. I wasn't anticipating a substantial monthly contribution. I just hoped for what Jack was supposed to provide. Even a slightly reduced amount would be enough. Though I hesitated to ask for help right away, I chose to handle things by myself until it became difficult to take care of both my son and myself. It lasted for about 5 months, with me facing challenges to pay all the bills. Towards the end of the month, I could hardly manage to provide food for my son. Despite the tough times, I held on to the belief that things would get better eventually. I even started to let go of the thought of reaching out to Jack's parents for assistance. However, everything took a turn when my son became seriously ill and had to stay in the hospital. The medical bills, even with insurance, were too much for me to handle. I felt overwhelmed, realizing I couldn't handle this extra financial burden alone. Recognizing the need for assistance, I decided to reach out to Jack's parents. I contacted Teresa and explained my situation. She showed genuine concern for my difficulties and offered her support. When I disclosed Jack's absence and the reasons behind it, they were surprised and expressed regret for not reaching out sooner. Without hesitation, they invited me to their home and reassured me of their assistance. Thankfully, I accepted their offer, understanding that Alice was eager to help. It was a comfort to know that they were ready to stand by me during this challenging period. I didn't have to request her assistance. She willingly offered it. A sense of relief washed over me, and once my tears settled, I swiftly packed a small suitcase for both my son and myself. We went to Alice and Gregory's house, where Alice welcomed us with friendly hugs at the entrance. Gregory warmly welcomed us, inviting us to join him with enthusiasm. As we gathered for lunch, we chatted casually, ensuring my son felt included and shielded from inappropriate topics. After our meal, my son happily went off to play, leaving the three of us to delve into the happenings of the past 5 months. They shared their frustration over Jack's departure and their disappointment upon discovering his affair. Learning about his abandonment of fatherhood fueled their anger. Additionally, they expressed upset with me for not reaching out earlier, and I admitted my mistake. Gregory was determined to offer more financial help than Jack needed to repay. Yet I hesitated to accept such a significant amount. I appealed to Gregory, sharing my unease. He stood firm, seeing it as a way to repay for the last 5 months and recognizing the difficulties faced by a young single mother. Gregory, there's really no reason for such a large sum of money. Think of it as getting back what you've spent in the last 5 months. Plus, you're a young mom taking care of your child alone. You shouldn't have to give up so much when your child's grandparents have more than plenty to offer. Gregory stood his ground, insisting, "There's no limit when it comes to you both. We only ask for one favor in return. Whatever you require," I guaranteed them. Gregory stressed how essential it is to keep in touch regularly. They requested me to commit that if I ever required assistance, no matter what it was, I should reach out to them. I gladly gave my word, and they comforted me, saying, "We don't want either of you facing difficulties. Thank you for joining us. We're really happy to be more connected with our grandchildren. Things have been going well lately, and I've come to understand the importance of having enough money. Back when I was married to Jack, we faced financial difficulties, barely making ends meet. But now, having more financial stability has enabled me to give my son many chances. Years passed, and my son blossomed into a fantastic individual, forming a strong bond with his grandparents. Every weekend we cherished family outings, creating lasting memories. Our lives flourished, thanks not only to the unwavering support of Gregory and Alice, but also to my improved job situation. About 5 years after Jack's departure, my son entered the workforce. Regrettably, 5 years after Jack left us, Gregory's health took a hit. He experienced a stroke, but swift medical attention led to his recovery. Determined to organize his affairs, Gregory began updating his will, and I lent a helping hand. A few 3 months after my son celebrated his 16th birthday, a sad event unfolded. Gregory had a heart attack and left us before assistance could reach him. It was a crushing blow, realizing that had we noticed the signs just 5 minutes earlier, he might still be with us. The funeral happened a week later, and we slowly shared the heartbreaking news with Gregory and Alice's extended family. Alice was profoundly impacted, prompting my son and me to handle nearly everything. We gladly took on the responsibility, considering it the least we could do. The funeral was a serious event, attended by a significant number of people. It was consoling to witness the heartfelt expressions of love for Gregory, and seeing Alice smile again after reconnecting with her dear ones was uplifting. While my son and I were mostly unknown to those in attendance, we appreciated the encouragement and affection that enveloped us throughout this challenging period. A week afterwards, we all met up at Alice's house to go through Gregory's will. I don't know how Jack got wind of it, but he showed up unexpectedly at the front door. I was the one who answered, and seeing him there made my stomach drop. At that instant, a flood of emotions hit me: anger, frustration, shock, and disbelief. My feelings took over, and I couldn't find the words to say anything. Jack barely noticed me as he walked past and went into the house. After collecting myself, I closed the door firmly and quickly approached him. In the living room, Alice gasped in surprise when she saw Jack standing there, appearing unaffected, while Alice looked pale. I decided to address the situation, asking, "Why are you here? Last I heard, they're no longer your in-laws. It's not your concern. You're the one who left, broke ties with your parents, and now you're showing up for your inheritance? That's even more troubling." Jack responded, "Fine, I'm here to claim what's rightfully mine. But seriously, you disappeared for the last 8 years, leaving me to raise our kid on my own. You didn't even bother to check on your folks, and now you're only back for the inheritance. What's going on with you?" I countered, "Why worry about me? I'm still getting my rightful share, and your words won't change that. By the way, Mom, can I see the will?" Jack strongly asserted, "What about the stuff Dad said he'd leave for me? He promised I'd get half of everything he owns. I just want to check if he actually did that and when I can expect to receive it." After examining the will, I found that Jack wasn't mentioned in it at all. Gregory chose to communicate through a letter. Jack's reaction to this information was one of frustration, and I couldn't help but feel a certain level of contentment as I observed his indifferent expression transform into anger. I was well aware of the contents of that letter. I assisted Gregory in crafting a letter that conveyed his feelings of letdown and frustration with Jack. In the message, Gregory shared his dedication to shaping Jack into a more virtuous individual, highlighting the importance of loyalty and accountability. He also detailed the support he provided to me and my son after Jack departed. He explained that he wanted to split his belongings into 3 portions for Jack, Alice, and our son. However, since Jack wasn't there, he planned to allocate Jack's share for us and give the remaining part to a charity supporting single mothers. As I observed Jack's growing irritation, I struggled to hold back a chuckle. Jack's face turned red, showing his frustration. I found it amusing that he thought he would inherit something from his dad, Gregory. Gregory, a principled man, made sure everyone took responsibility for their actions, and he had dealt with Jack's mistakes appropriately. It felt a bit discouraging to find out that Gregory changed his will because he understood Jack so well, anticipating that Jack would come back only for the inheritance. When Jack came towards me in anger, blaming me for talking to Gregory, I assured him that I hadn't influenced Gregory's choices. I emphasized that Jack was accountable for his own deeds, and Gregory deliberately left him out of the will. Despite Jack's threat to challenge his father's will, I stood my ground, maintaining that I had no part in those choices. "I will rightfully get what belongs to me. Feel free to proceed. I have solid proof that you broke court rules by leaving the country. I also have evidence that Gregory used money from your inheritance share to support his child. If you decide to oppose me, you could incur fines or, even worse, land in jail. Jack, please keep quiet. If you're done, I politely request you to leave. You've taken everything from me, but it's your own actions. Depart or I'll get the police involved. Dealing with Gregory's loss is already hard for us, and you're treating him as if he's just an ATM isn't making it any easier. Please leave." After that, Jack left, shouting offensive words as he walked away. Alice seemed ready to argue with him, but I was able to soothe her. Thankfully, my son wasn't with us today. I don't think he would have handled Jack's behavior as calmly. I'm not sure what happened to Jack after that, and honestly, I'm not concerned. The legacy Gregory left for my son is significant, sufficient to cover his college expenses without relying on loans. I'm grateful for Gregory's forward thinking. After my son starts college, Alice and I are considering a brief getaway, just the 2 of us. We've faced challenges together, and we feel it's time to enjoy a moment of joy. Things are starting to take a positive turn in our lives. Upon learning about Jack's betrayal, I never expected my life to go in this direction. Yet here I am. Keep in mind, even if you try to find ways around things, the outcomes will eventually catch up to you, even if it's after a long time. Be kind, do good for those around you, and you'll experience the joy that life can bring.